The machine gun should be removed from Smash Karts, no doubt. It's basically a waste of time with how little damage it does. I mean, it takes up like 25% of the game, and for what? Barely any impact.
I don't know, Jason. The machine gun is perfect for beginners. It helps them get a feel for the game without having to master aiming right away.
Yeah, I agree with Caleb. The MG is a great starter weapon. It helps people who are new or just having a hard time aiming to get involved.
But that's exactly the problem. It auto-aims, which means you can't even target the player you want. It's like handing the game to someone who isn't trying.
Right. Plus, in a 1v1, it's almost useless. It's way too slow to kill, and the range is pathetic. It's more of a handicap than an advantage.
But think about it. If we remove MGs, we make the game a lot less accessible. Not everyone is in it for pro-level play. Some just want to have fun.
And if they buff it or change the range, wouldn't that just make it more balanced? It doesn't have to be removed completely.
Buffing the range wouldn't help much because of the auto-aim. The MG doesn't let you target who you actually want to. You could be aiming at a low health player, but it switches to someone else, and you end up getting smashed.
Exactly. Plus, how many times have we seen someone use MG and just lose because the other guy ran circles around them? It's not good for high-score chasers either. It's like a penalty weapon. I get what you're saying, but isn't the real issue the people who just stand there and let it fire? It's part of the strategy to use it right.
Yeah, and in group matches, it can be fun to have a mix of weapons. Machine guns only lobbies exist for a reason, after all.
But look at the competitive servers. Many don't even allow MGs because they're seen as a detriment. If the pros don't like them, maybe it's for a good reason?
That's true. I mean, even if you're a beginner, there are better ways to learn than relying on an auto-aim crutch. It stops real growth.
Okay, but maybe the game isn't just about growth. Maybe it's about having different experiences for everyone. Removing MGs entirely just seems a bit extreme to me.
Yeah, or at least have some mode-specific settings. Like, keep MGs in beginner lobbies, but take them out of high-level play.
I could get behind that, but in general, they don't add much to the game besides frustration.
I agree. At the very least, they need a serious rework or restriction in higher-level games.
All right, I hear you. But if we remove MGs from higher-level games or pro lobbies, wouldn't that make them kind of boring? You need variety in weapons to keep things interesting.
I get the variety point, but MGs just don't fit. They're not effective and they ruin the flow. Imagine chasing someone for half the match just because you picked up an MG by mistake.
But that's part of the unpredictability. Not every weapon should be perfect. Some are situational. You have to adapt on the fly. That's where the real skill comes in.
Yeah, but the problem is, no one wants to adapt to a weapon that makes them feel like they're losing from the moment they pick it up. The data even shows that 65% of players get smashed when they get an edge MG at the start. That's not fun. That's frustrating.
Fair point. But isn't that the case with all weapons? I mean, nukes and rockets can backfire too. It's all about how you use them.
Not really. With nukes, rockets, or even the spiky mace, there's always a chance to turn things around or outplay someone. MGs don't offer that. You're stuck spraying bullets with no control, and that just feels cheap.
I think we're going in circles. If the MG is so bad, why not just limit it to certain lobbies? Make it less frequent in the regular games, but still available for those who want it.
That could work, but I still think it needs changes. Maybe if it didn't take up so much time per game, people wouldn't hate it as much.
How about this? Keep MGs, but reduce the bullet count or shorten the fire duration. That way, it's still there for beginners, but doesn't dominate the game.
I could go for that. At least then, it wouldn't feel like a waste when you pick one up.
Yeah, if it's less common and less time-consuming, it might balance things out better. But if that doesn't work, I'd still vote to remove it altogether.
Fine, but if they're going to change it, they better do it right. Maybe test it in some special modes first?
Agreed. A test run would be a good way to see if changes actually help. Maybe the devs will listen if we suggest that.
Definitely worth suggesting. Let's see what everyone else thinks too.
You know, I'm all for suggesting changes, but honestly, do the devs even listen? Feels like they barely respond to feedback. I mean, when's the last time they actually changed something because the community asked for it?
I get that frustration, man. But they did rebalance the MG in the 2.1.0 update. It wasn't perfect, but it shows they're paying some attention.
Yeah, but that update barely did anything. People still complain just as much about MGs. It's like they throw us a bone once in a blue moon, but nothing really changes.
Maybe it takes time. They can't overhaul the game every time there's a complaint. Plus, they have to think about the whole player base, not just the loudest voices.
I get that, but it's not just a few loud voices. We're talking about the most controversial weapon in the game. You'd think they'd address it more directly, right?
Exactly. The MG has been an issue for so long. It's got a bad rep even in the pro circles. Feels like the devs are just ignoring that side of the player base.
But maybe they're trying to balance fun for everyone, not just the top players. I mean, if they only listen to the pros, wouldn't that make the game less accessible?
True, and it could alienate new players too. Not everyone wants a super competitive experience. Some just want to have fun and feel like they have a chance.
Sure, but there's gotta be a middle ground. I'm just tired of seeing the same complaints over and over with no real response. It's like we're talking to a brick wall sometimes.
Yeah, I get you. Maybe we just need to keep pushing. If enough people speak up, they can't ignore it forever, right?
Hopefully. Maybe we should start a poll or something in the community to gather more voices. Show the devs that this is a serious issue.
That's a good idea. If we can show a clear majority wants change, it might actually get their attention.
Worth a shot, I guess. Can't hurt to try, even if it feels like we're just shouting into the void.
Let's do it. I'm in. Maybe this time they'll actually listen.
All right, I'll start working on a poll. Let's see how many people agree with us on this.
Count me in. If nothing else, it's better than doing nothing.
You know, even if we get the devs to notice, who's to say they'll actually do anything? It's not like they don't have bigger fish to fry, right?
Maybe, but I still think the MG is a big enough issue. Look, every time I see someone pick it up, it's like they're doomed unless they get super lucky. What's the point of a weapon that makes you feel like you've already lost?
Come on, Jason. It's not that bad. I've seen people use the MG creatively. Like, reverse homing is a legit tactic. You can outmaneuver someone if you know what you're doing.
Reverse homing? Seriously? That only works if the other player isn't paying attention. Most decent players won't fall for it. You're better off with almost any other weapon.
But isn't that the point? Different weapons need different strategies. Just because MG isn't the best in every situation doesn't mean it's useless.
I hear you. But the thing is, it's not just not the best. It's actively bad in so many scenarios. You can't even use it effectively in a 1v1 without getting smashed most of the time.
Maybe it's bad in 1v1, but what about in team games or crowded maps? You get to pick off low health players pretty easily. That's satisfying.
But that's the thing, Carl. You're only picking off people who are already almost dead. You're not winning by skill. You're just cleaning up after everyone else.
Isn't that part of the game, though? Using what you have to your advantage? Not everyone's looking to be the top scorer. Some just want a few easy kills.
Yeah, but easy kills aren't the same as rewarding gameplay. The MG makes it feel cheap, like you're not really earning your smashes.
And don't forget how annoying it is in competitive matches. It's practically banned in a lot of those settings for a reason. If it's so good, why would the pros hate it so much?
Maybe because pros are all about optimizing every second. For casual players, it's different. They don't care as much about that stuff.
Exactly. Not every player wants to be super competitive. If we take out MGs, we might lose those players who just want to have fun.
But fun for who, though? People who don't want to try? That's not the kind of game I want to play. A good game should challenge you, not hand out free smashes.
And honestly, it's a bad sign when so many players are just waiting to drop the MG the second they pick it up. It's like a cursed item.
Maybe that's because they don't know how to use it properly. We're all assuming it's a bad weapon, but maybe people just haven't figured out the best way to use it yet.
Or maybe it's designed to force different playstyles. Make you think on your feet, you know?
Or maybe it's just designed poorly. I think we should focus on finding weapons that fit all styles of play without feeling like a penalty.
Agreed. If the MG has to stay, it needs serious reworking to make it fair and fun. Otherwise, it's just going to keep being a point of frustration.
Okay, so let's think. If they don't remove it, what changes would actually make it better? Less auto-aim? Faster damage? What?
What if they gave it a different ability? Like, instead of damage, it could slow down other players or mess with their controls?
Now, that's an idea. At least, then it'd be doing something unique instead of just being a weak auto-aim.
I could get behind that. At least make it interesting, something more tactical than just spraying bullets.
All right, that's something we could suggest in the poll, a rework instead of removal. Maybe that would get more support.
Sounds good. Let's put it out there and see what people think. At least it's a step forward, right?
Yeah, better than just arguing forever. Let's see if the community agrees.
You know, instead of just removing MGs from the game entirely, what if there was a ranked mode where they were disabled? Like, in casual mode, they'd still be there. But ranked could be more serious. No machine guns allowed.
That could be cool. It'd keep the fun for casual players who like the MG, but give the competitive folks the mode they want without it.
That sounds great in theory, but do you really think the devs would go for it? They barely change anything besides adding new skins or cart cosmetics.
Yeah, they don't make many big changes. The last time they touched weapon balance was that so-called rebalance for MGs, and it didn't do much.
True, but maybe it's because no one suggested something like this before. A ranked mode without MGs could attract more competitive players and keep the game fresh.
I think it would be awesome, but the devs don't seem too interested in anything that requires major rework. They focus more on visuals and small tweaks.
Exactly, Carl. That's what I'm worried about. They don't seem to have the bandwidth for major gameplay changes. We'd be lucky if they even looked at a suggestion like that.
I get that, but maybe it's worth a shot? Ranked mode would create a split where everyone wins. Competitive players get a pure experience, and casuals keep their MG fun.
And think about it, a ranked mode could help build more hype around the game. People love competing in balanced environments. It could be good for the game's growth.
I'm just not convinced the devs will listen. It seems like they're focused on cosmetics because it's easier and brings in money. This would need real effort.
But if we don't ask, we definitely won't get it. Maybe we could rally enough support to show that this is something the community really wants.
Yeah, I think a ranked mode would be worth pushing for. Even if they don't act immediately, we've got to at least make our voices heard.
And maybe they'll surprise us. If they see how much support there is, they might decide it's worth the investment.
I guess we don't have much to lose by trying. Even if they don't go for it, at least we'd be doing something instead of just complaining.
Agreed. Let's add that to the poll. Ranked mode without machine guns. See if it gets traction.
And while we're at it, we could also suggest some other weapon changes or ideas, just to show we're not focused on removing fun, just making it balanced.
Right, it's all about balance. Let's get this poll going, and we'll see how people feel about the ranked mode idea. Maybe this will finally get the devs' attention.
Fine, I'll help draft it up. Let's hope this isn't just another suggestion that gets ignored.